Hi, and welcome to the PAFF Institute virtual summer series. PAFF Institute presents Behind the Scenes Part 2. Learn how to get into the industry and meet the dynamic people who make the magic happen. I'm your host and moderator, Tasha St. Cyr, CEO and founder of Miss Everything Entertainment, a company that empowers women in front and behind the scenes to, create, produce, and make magic for anyone and everyone. Like I mentioned last show, myself have got started in behind the scenes. So before I introduce our lovely panelists, I would first like to thank the executive directors Ayuku Babu and Asantawa Olatuni for their vision and fortitude of the Pan African Film Festival for over 28 years. And also thank you to Linda Bronson Abbott for producing the PAFF Institute Summer Series, where you get firsthand information from experts. So once this panel is over, for those of you who can and are willing, please go over to paff.org and donate so we can continue to bring free educational panels to our community. For those of you who are watching live on Facebook and YouTube, I would like you guys to drop your comments and questions in the chat box below, and I will be reading them off to our panelists later on. So right now, I would like to go ahead and introduce all of my panelists. I have amazing producer Eureka Pratt. I have an amazing gaffer, Victor Bland. I have a costume designer, Catrice Messe, and I have a post-sound engineer, Ken Johnson, and last but not least, we have Jazz Wheeler, who is a Steadicam operator. First, let me go ahead and introduce Eureka Pratt. Hi, Eureka. How are you?
I'm well. Hi, Tasha. How you doing?
Wonderful. Eureka Pratt is a producer who's worked on shows and movies such as Chocolate City 1 and 2, Kinky, starring Robert Richard and Don Richards. She's also worked on shows such as Vivica Fox, Black Magic, and she has a new movie coming out called Gangland. Eureka, can you let us know more about how you got started into this industry?
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. I think this is a wonderful platform, and I'm honored to be a part of this. I would say I started producing in my late teens. I started producing at 17 years old, and I started with just a regular old internship in the writing department, straight out of high school, and I started my first film there with this production company. And while on my first film, I was just so intrigued by this woman that was behind the scenes, just running around and running the show. And so I spend most of the time, instead of learning my lines, following her. And that is how I got into producing. I shadowed her on a couple of films. Her name was Jasmine Cass. And from there, I began associate producing. And here I am today.
We basically have similar stories because I met you on one of my first films where I was a director's assistant, and I was working closely with you as a producer for one of our great friends, directors, Jean-Claude Lamar. And I saw you working and I was like, I like her. That's a boss woman right there. And you got me into producing and working behind the scenes. So I thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you here. You're actually kind of one of my mentors, believe it or not. So we could talk a little bit more later on, getting started and how you got into the industry. But let me go ahead and introduce my second guest and panelist. We have Victor Bland, who is a gaffer. Hi, Victor. I thank you for joining us.
Hey, how you doing, King? I was actually I'm a little bit last minute here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're a little dark there, but we're going to go ahead and get you some light in a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you to everyone who's out there watching. We have Victor Bland, who's been in the film for over 10 plus years as a gaffer and rigging gaffer and a member of the IATSE Local 479, who currently owns Classic Film Studios in the Atlanta area, which is a multimedia space for creatives. So Victor has worked on movies such as Thor, Ride Along, The Hate You Give, music videos with Drake, Future, Missy Elliott, Rick Ross, T.I., oh my gosh. TV shows like Ambitions, Walking Dead, Star, Greenleaf, and of course, Tyler Perry, you're in the home of Atlanta. So how is it, working as a gaffer on all of these movies, sets, and shows?
It's actually great. I like to tell people because it's my passion, it's something that I would be doing anyway, and it's great to actually have it to be my livelihood and how I financially support myself and family also. I'm a photographer and videographer first, but within IOTC, Local 479, that's our union here in Atlanta. I'm a gaffer and rigging gaffer by trade. And yeah, it's wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for anything, honestly, because it's my passion.
Can you tell us or anybody out there watching what a gaffer does and a rigging gaffer? Like, what is that title and what does that mean on set?
Okay, well, a gaffer is by definition the chief lighting technician. So on set you have electricians and you have grips. Electricians are in charge of power and to the set and also lighting the principal photography. So I work very closely with the DP, which is the director of photography, who's in charge of camera and lighting. And I also work very closely with the grips, who are in charge of actually cutting the light. The electricians, they produce the light, and the grips shape the light. So that's pretty much, and as far as rigging gaffing goes, a lot goes into productions. So the rigging side of things are the pre-production. So if we're going to be shooting, like let's say at a mansion on Tuesday, on Monday, the rigging crew, me and my guys are there making sure that all the power is in places that it needs to be. We may change out all of the light bulbs. We may change out fixtures inside the building, make sure power is outside so that when the shooting crew, which is first unit, shows up, they have places to get power from. Because the lights that we use on movies, some can plug directly into regular house power like we have in our houses, but others pull way more power than that and have actual different connectors. So that's what the rigging side of it is. So once they shoot, we'll come the next day, pick up all the cable, and then go to the next location and do it all over again.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get into some more details about lighting because a bad lighting can definitely hurt or help a film. So not only lighting is very important. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my next guest, who is a post sound engineer, Ken Johnson. And just as much as lighting is important, sound. I know people have watched some movies where they were like, sound could have been better. So that's right. Ken Johnson. Very important to have on your set. Ken Johnson grew up in Los Angeles, South Central LA, in the Nickerson Gardens. He has worked on plenty of shows, movies, and TV shows where he received 3 Emmy Awards, 2 Golden Reel Awards, and an International Monitor Award for Outstanding Sound Engineer. Congratulations, I must say. I can hear everybody cheering you on. Can you let us know what a post sound engineer does and how important it is to a film project?
Well, by definition, my role is really, I'm a supervising sound designer and what we call a re-recording mixer. And so basically, I'm in charge of all the sound that happens after the movie has been shot. During the mixing process, during the editing process, working very closely with the composer and the music supervisor to put it all together in a cohesive package so that you have a great mix and a great sounding project.
Like I said, sounding is great, and I can hear your sound is beautiful. I see you in the studio now, so you had to make sure you came prepared.
Oh,
Can't help
thank
it
you.
sound. So let me go ahead and introduce our next panelist. We have Catrice Massey, who is a costume wardrobe stylist and designer. She has been in the industry for over 2 decades. She's a CEO and founder of Blue Collar, a boutique styling and costume design company located here in Los Angeles, California. And Catrice is widely acknowledged by her peers in the industry. She has worked on fashion films, sports, entertainment. She has styled everybody from Drew Barrymore, Loretta Devine, all the way to athletes and entertainers such as Shaquille O'Neal, Randy Crawford, Little Kim in Vogue, B2K, Outkast, and many more. Catrice, thank you so much for being here. Can you let us know what got you into, costume designing and working with all these celebrities?
I actually think this ended up being this is actually my natural gift. If I go back to people from elementary school, they always have a story about something I did in wardrobe. I actually got discovered. I was interning at a record label with MCA, and an executive, Andre Fisher, asked me what I wanted to do. And at the time, I was like, oh, I think I want to go to law school. I want to be an entertainment attorney. And he was like, you got such a good gift with clothes, like you dress really fly and you have a good relationship with the artist, and not, obviously in a sexual way, but they respond to you when you tell them like what to wear. He actually set me up with 2 agents, and one was Dion Perino and the other one was Crystal Wright. And both were correct in saying like I had 0 experience, except for Crystal was like, I think I want to take a chance on you. She said, you have 0 experience, but I want to sign you. I just have a really good feeling about this. And then she ended up being my agent for, gosh, like maybe 15 years. And I still call her for like contracts and advice and things like that. So that's how I got started. Somebody else saw it in me.
I mean, that's the best part, when somebody can see a talent and then bring it out of you, and then you just create this amazing thing. Like, I mean, I've seen some of your work. I've seen Shaquille on some commercials like JCPenney's and B2K and concert. So I already know you are somebody not to play with. Your style is amazing. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get into some more designing and costume wardrobe set. But let me go ahead and introduce my last but not least panelist for this behind the scenes. We have Steadicam Jazz. Jazz is a Steadicam operator who works on films, movies, TV shows. Congratulations on your last project that just came out with Charlie Wilson and Smokey Robinson.
Thank you.
All my love. I saw your beautiful work because I produced it. So thank you so much for being on that set. Can you let us know what is a Steadicam operator and what got you started into this industry?
So a Steadicam operator, as I remember when I'm watching TV when I was younger, all I remember was 2 people walking outside and the camera was following them. And I was always wondering, how did they get that smooth shot, And then I actually started doing research recently, a couple years ago, maybe like 4 years ago. People was telling me, yo, you're tall. You should try the Steadicam, because everybody's average height. So I could just hold a post from somebody else that's shorter. They would have to actually boom up higher, and they would feel it all in their arms. So they don't want to really do those type of shots. But since I'm so tall, I can just sit there and just hold the shot forever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. And ever since then, I really just started taking it to the next level. Like, Steadicam has brought me to a higher level that I've never seen before in film. So it's really awesome.
Okay. Can you let us know some of the projects that you've worked on in the past where you were able to like really show your skills?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes. Let's say I did a recent video for a big director from Atlanta. His name is Mr. Boomtown. And he wanted me to really show my skills by spinning the camera. And that's basically doing a full 360 with the camera. And I did it maybe like 100 times on that shoot. Because it was one take, 4 minutes, just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. I was so dizzy, but they had to see the skills, and they found out that day that I could spin. So now I still get people till this day calling me like, bro, we need you to come spin. I was like, oh man, I don't want to do that. But that's really like a skill in Steadicam. It's another level.
Well, like everybody here, you guys are super talented. All my
Yeah, thank
panelists,
you.
somebody has something that they are amazing at and what got you into this field. So I want to go ahead and bring all my panelists back and talk to them on, what started you guys into your career. Eureka, you're a producer. You mentioned that, you were on set and you saw your mentor working hard and you like, I want to be like her. But did you start like, was that something you dreamed of, or were you watching movies all the time and was wondering what was going on behind the scenes, or like what actually like this is what I want to do?
I always thought I was going to be an actress or a singer. I thought my life would be in front of the camera. God had other plans. But no, I never saw myself as a producer until that very project. Um, and I'm very grateful for that project because I don't think there's anything else that I would rather do, than help bring projects to life.
Can you let us know like what project that you felt was the super like? Tell us about one of your projects that you produced that you were like, this is like, Mama, I made it.
I would say probably the first movie that went to theaters, which was Chocolate City One. That's where I met you, Jay Tasha, and our friendship blossomed from there. I would say that movie because it was the first project that I literally got to work with at least 5 people that I had major crushes on in middle school. Um, and here I was on this set, you know, sometimes directing them, sometimes helping them figure out where they needed to be. But these were some of my favorite celebrities, favorite actors. And it was just one of those projects that was very surreal. For instance, Genuine, who I was absolutely in love with as a child. I got to watch him perform on my set, on my film set, to his greatest hit, Ponies, and dancing. I mean, it was just a memory that I will never forget. And of course, I've made some long-lasting friendships because of that project. So I would say that's the one that stands out.
So if you guys want to know who we're talking about, that show right now is currently on Netflix, Chocolate City. Go
Yes.
watch it now so you can see her in it as well as producing. Catrice, you worked on yeah, I had to get into this costume design because I love wardrobe. I love seeing the different colors and how people put things together. Things that you would never see people walk out the house. You be like, how did they make that work? So your style, your eye for styling, like who was your most favorite person to work with on set?
Ooh. So I have a couple of them. Because each job is different. When you're doing television and film, you're telling a story through wardrobe. So you're developing these characters, and most of the time it's not how a person actually is. You're developing this character and you're telling the story through that. My favorite group was B2K because that's a group that I started with. There's a style that I developed. And then they were just great kids. I mean, they're great people now, but they were just really great kids. And no, I got to do whatever I like to do. So that was one of my favorites. Shaquille is one of my favorites because he's just easy and he's fun. I personally prefer now to do less styling and to do more television and film because I like telling the stories through wardrobe and creating. And I mean, I come up with ideas based on flowers and colors and, just random stuff. People watch a lot. And so it's just fun to create, Women are probably the best, but also the hardest because you're dealing with, personalities and bodies and, a lot of different things, but you get to do the most creative things with women because fashion is always evolving with women, and it starts with women. So
I just saw a picture of In Vogue that I believe you styled. What was that like styling them, and what was that for?
so that was for a magazine called Westwood, and so they had maybe about they had the cover, and then they had like maybe 7 different looks. The girls are a little different because you want to make sure that everybody shines in their own way, and so that they're not so cookie cutter. Like I still sometimes will do them very matchy, and they have the same thing and just a different version of it. But I try not to do that as often. I do that more for performance. When we're doing photo shoots, I like to bring out their individual looks. They're grown women. They're beautiful and they're different. So and but to try and find like a common ground. So on this one, it probably was the metallics and the golds and the silvers, but to find a dress that fit them perfectly. They're great though. I love them.
Well, they looked beautiful, and you're gonna have to style me one day. So, Victor, gaffing and rigging. So, on movie sets, how important is it to like the safety of working with these lighting and electrician and all those? Like, how important is safety on set?
Well, that's really a grip thing. That's their main thing. The key grip is in charge of safety, but of course, we all should be safe. When it comes to the lights, you're dealing with thousands of watts of power. This is power that can literally explode your body. This isn't like, shocking yourself by mistake in the house. Um, we also deal with generators that produce lots of power, and we sometimes have to upset producers and first ADs because we'll have to shut down the power on set lots of times just because of lightning being too close or rain coming close because generators attract lightning. Um, and then as far as, we're always rigging things in the air. If you've ever been on set, you'll see a grid almost over every set if we're on a stage. So we're rigging
Can you
lights
explain what
over.
you're doing in these pictures right here?
Um, what's going on here? They're the grips and electricians. We're working together here to rig what's called a soft box overhead. I think this was a Atlanta Housewives shoot or Atlanta hip hop. It was one of the two. And it was just going to be one person standing underneath this light, and we were just pushing Dolly in and out, getting a good even lit shot of them for intros to the show. The so we have to deal with a lot of safety issues on set. Of course, we don't want anything falling out of the air, hurting, of course, talent or any of the other crew members. The issue of safety comes up a whole lot, so we have to be very, very careful when it comes to that, and it falls directly on the department head, which would be me, the gaffer or the key grip.
Ooh, is there? I mean, I really don't want to get into this, but I have to know: is there any horror stories on set? Like,
I would say
I don't
yes.
know.
I won't. I will
want people
tell.
to know
I'll
the
tell a
craziest.
couple of stories, but I won't tell where they happened. Okay. There was one issue in particular. It wasn't a production that I was on, but of course, the production world is very small, so word travels fast. Of course, especially if you're in the same state or city. There was one issue where there was a lot of lights rigged together above head. China balls are what we call them. They're just like the China lanterns that you may see like decorating someone's luau or something outside, or a party outside. But they're pretty flammable because there's paper around them. But there was too many of them jumped together on a particular power run, and it caught on fire, and pretty much all of them
No.
went up in flames and had to evacuate the set and shut it down for I think the production shut down for about a week. We also have what are called condors, which are these big boom lifts you may see people using when they're doing like when they're painting windows or doing construction on a building. And we go up real high with these lights. These are for exterior lighting. We usually rig lights to them and send them up in the air 60 to 120 feet in the air to light streets and neighborhoods. And sometimes, if you're not careful when you're driving them, you can tip them over. And that has happened a few times. I think that's probably enough horror story wise. I mean, of course, accidents. I've had people fall off ladders or just hurt themselves when driving a scissor lift or something like that. It's a volatile job, so if you're not careful, there's many ways you can hurt yourself. Yep.
I mean, safety is definitely key. So I guess you can't be afraid of heights, can't be afraid of a lot of things being a gaffer on set. So
No,
for those who
no,
want to get into this industry, make sure you check off those boxes before you want to get into this career field.
no.
So just as important as a lighting is, I know I'm like lighting and sound. You guys go so well together because you guys are like the glue of, a lot of movies. So your post sound engineering. Do you also work on set? Can you let us know about boom operating and mixing and all the different areas of sound?
Well, no. Well, actually, on-set mixing is different, right? That's a whole different field of expertise. I don't really do on-set mixing or boom operating or anything like that. We usually deal with sound once the picture has been edited. Then we're the guys that come in and put the sprinkles on it of backgrounds and effects and mix it all together. Sort of what we do.
When you say effects, is it like if a film had like big booms and like probably like helicopters and all of that, you guys add those effects in there? Or
Yeah,
like, if somebody like in an action film and they get shot, are you adding those effects? What effects do you add on a lot of your films?
yeah. I mean, pretty much because what happens on a film, they're really trying to just capture the dialogue. So the mics that
Mm-hmm.
they use really sort of reject any off-axis sound, so you don't really get a lot of sound that's actually happening on the production. So we usually replace everything from the room tone to the people talking in the background to any handling of cups and saucers and forks and spoons and all that stuff. For instance, on Biker Boys, I did that show, and I ended up having to redo all the motorcycles. So all those motorcycles are actually sounds that I created, and I used some animals with some of the pass-bys and stuff like that.
Wow, I did not know that you guys do all the animal sounds and everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's because when I got that film, I wanted it to be creative. I wanted to be different without really you noticing that it was different. But it had sort of this growl to it that I really like. So I incorporated that to just give it a little more menacing sound.
Which film did you work on that had the most like sound effects or things that you had to add to it? What film was that, and how was that working on that film?
Well, I would say, well, it's just done a lot of stuff. So one of the things, so I did John Adams which was an HBO miniseries. I won an Emmy for that, and that was a period piece, right?
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. So all the ships and the cannons firing, and even going back to, because it was a period piece, creating the sounds of that period, right? Whether it be the ambiances or it was the wallas, which is the people talking in the background. And so we put all that kind of stuff in. So I think detail wise, that was probably one of my more intricate projects.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. And what was the name of that film again, so I can see your work? And congratulations on your Emmy.
Thank you. It was John Adams.
John Adams. Okay, on HBO. Okay, I will definitely check that out. Let me go ahead and ask this next question.
Go ahead. No,
I was gonna say,
sorry.
let me ask this next question to Jazz, because he is the camera operator. So Who is your best friend on set? Who do you work closely with, and why?
So I work closely with the DP and the director, though. I stay close to the director too sometimes, but most of the time it's really the DP that's telling me exactly what they're looking for, exactly the movement they want. Do they want Dutches? Do they want cleans, ins and outs? Do you want just parallax? So I really stay close
Hold
to the
on, wait.
DP
You saying
because
all these
he knows.
terms? You saying
Huh?
all these terms? What do these terms mean? I know some people want to know. What does it mean to go Dutch?
Okay, so Dutching is more like when the camera is like twisting left and right. That's more of Dutching. And then clean is more is where it's just horizon is just flat and it's just ins and outs. So they really for music videos, rap videos, they do a lot of Dutches. They say Dutch it, jazz, just Dutch it, and I do the whole shot, just ins and outs, just ins and outs. And then for instance, like a clean video with the Smokey Robinson and Charlie Wilson video was all clean. He didn't want no Dutches. He didn't want none of that because it was more of a more higher type, visual than the rap videos. Those just pull up, just do it. This is more, planned out. So
Cool. I mean, I've seen your work. I've seen, like, is it, when you go up and down and Dutch and all of that. Have you
uh
seen a movie that was just like, why is it like that? What was
I've
that to you? Like, how does that come to a steady cam operator? Like, tell me your experience and why people, like,
oh
what makes a
man,
film use that type of like camera movement? Where does
yeah.
that go for you?
So I say for horror movies, horror films, Steadicams is really, really used the most because I feel like they do a lot of first person shots and like coming around the corner, they'll do a really, really slow creep around the corner and then right when the action happens, the Steadicam will reveal the corner and it'll show the room of the action of somebody getting stabbed or something, so it kind of tells a story. You can use it in a lot of ways though. Like Warner shots, we love Warners. Like starting from the outside of the front of the house, and then you follow the two actors into the house, into the kitchen, into the bathroom, back out to the backyard, and then we'll finish it off at the end, maybe with them walking into get into a car or something. So those runners, those are used a lot too. So Steadicam is very, 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 very important on big productions at all times.
Okay, well, I guess we got to have a big budget to work with you.
Oh, oh yeah.
You seem like you've been in the game for so long. Did you first start with like a regular camera, or what type of cameras do you like to use most? Like, is it Reds? Like, tell us about the camera world
Um,
and what works best for
so
Steady.
I started with the GH1 actually, and they make all the way up to like GH6 now. So it was a long time ago. I started on a DSLR camera, but one of my favorite cameras to use today is the Alexa Mini LF. And we was using the red cameras, and of course, a couple of years ago, red cameras was number one. Everybody was red, 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 red. So now, today is more of full frame 4K with the more of a movie look with the Alexa Mini. So that's the one I prefer now, and it has a lot of weight on it, so I can fly and fly the Steadicam more smoother than a red camera sometime, unless they fully, fully, fully build it up like with the matte box, with the follow focus. I want them to build it as heavy as possible. That way, I can get the smoothest flight in the Steadicam arm. Because the light cameras, if I fly a light camera, like a red camera with just naked, with just the lens and the body only, then it sometimes some of the shots could wobble or something, and that I'll just usually have to compensate that with my hands, but it's more better, if you get a fully built Alexa Mini, and then I can just fly it like butter. Then the whole shoe goes good from there. So I want a
How
fully
heavy
built
is that? You
Mini.
talk about the weight. How heavy is those cameras?
So it could get up to about 60 to 70 pounds. The smaller cameras, like the red dragons, a naked red dragon with just the lens and the body. When I say naked, those are about, I could do about 30 pounds on those. So that's pretty light. It's pretty light. I usually try to go at least about 50 pounds. So that way it'll be very smooth. But not on my back. I'm gonna feel it on my back. But of course, I've been doing it like so long that now it's just like it's nothing no more. I make it look easy, but in the inside of my brain, I'm like, let me take a break.
So one person who works well, I want to bring Eureka back in here because she literally works with every department. I mean, what a producer basically hires the gaffer, the sound engineer, the costume designer, the Steadicam operator. When you're booking or when you're hiring a project for a film, who do you go to first? What do you look at first when producing? You're mute. Just go ahead and
I
click
would,
the
I
mute
would,
button.
can you hear me?
There you go. Mhm.
Yeah, I would say my first hire, or one of my first hires, is probably going to be my DP. And getting him together with my director and making sure that they mesh well, make sure that they understand that the DP understands the vision, and then after after we've got our main camera head down, usually I would usually then refer to him for his recommendations or what gaffers he likes to work with, or what steady cam is his favorite, that he thinks we can book. So usually when it comes to the other departments like the gaffing, steady cam, I refer to my DP most of the time, um, and then
And then
and
who you
then
pick
from
next after
there,
the DP?
once we've got my DP and he puts together his camera department. See, there's so many different other places to go. I think everything kind of happens simultaneously after that. I go for my costume designer, get she or he together with the director, um, so that wardrobe, because wardrobe's got to start. You know, I would say about the same time we've gotten our DP on board. They've started that vision. Um, I would then probably go to wardrobe. Sound, on my end. I usually pretty luck up when it comes to sound, so I don't really worry about sound too much. Um, and again, sometimes I'll go through referrals. I'll go through, whoever we brought on in the camera department. They usually have someone, that they absolutely love working with. Um, and then, of course, casting, right?
I mean, casting is definitely number one for me. I would like to see who's in these films. Who is one of them? Like you mentioned, you worked with Genuine and Vivica Fox. Who was like the worst person to work with on set?
Oh, wow, the word.
I hope I don't get nobody in trouble.
You're not supposed to ask questions like that. Who's the
Okay, you
worst
don't have
person
to
to
tell us
work
who it
with?
was, but just tell us what happened, what made the experience, like what was your what's a producer's nightmare then on set?
Well, obviously, a stubborn actor. One of those actors that don't want to come out of the trailer. Those are a little tough. Um, I would say I wouldn't say I had a terrible experience, but it was a very disappointing experience with a particular actor. I won't say if it was an actress or not. But there was an actor that I absolutely looked up to, that I found very inspirational. And when you're on those longer productions, past a month or so, you really start to see some of their personal characteristics come out, and sometimes they're not the best. Um, and so that makes it a little bit, makes it a little sour. When someone you absolutely look up to, and you start to see those
How did you
types of characteristics.
overcome this strategy? Like what did you do to get through to finalize the project? Like, you know, when you have when something goes wrong on set, the producer's the first person they call. So how do you like handle working on
You
sets
take
like
all
that?
emotion out. I take the emotion out, and I just got to finish. Whatever we have to do to finish. Really don't care what the person said, what they did. Let's just get it done and focus on the bigger picture. I think once you stay focused and you remember that end goal, and at the end of the day, it is to bring my director's vision to life. Everything else is just noise.
Mm, mm. I mean, you hire everybody. Do you also fire people when something goes wrong?
I don't hire everyone because there's never, there's other producers. I'm never just, the producer on set. I have had to fire. I don't like to do it. I'm a really nice person, and I like to finish. I always go into a project thinking, okay, this team is gonna last forever. We're gonna see it to the end. That almost never happens. So no, I don't like to do the firing. I usually there's usually a good cop, bad cop somewhere on set. I'm usually the good cop.
Got you.
How can you? How can they ask you to do the firing? I've done that
Why
before.
I gotta be the bad guy?
They Tasha
uh,
does not mind. They Tasha say, listen, it's not quite working out right now. We're quiet. Thank you, Jay Tasha.
I mean, no problem, no problem. Since we have all these people on set, I want to know to all my panelists, what is some realistic steps for people who aspire to be where you are? So, what is some steps to go? Like, is there schooling you guys went to, some classes or courses you guys take? Any things now that people can get into since we're in a new climate since you guys started? I know you guys all been in the industry for probably over 10 years. So, what has changed? I don't know who wants to jump in first.
I can start. I think styling and costume design are two different things. So as a stylist, I believe like that's your natural gift. Like if you can put some stuff together, and it's more than matching clothes. I think the hardest part about when people think about styling, you have to have people skills too. Um, and there's no particular way to become a stylist. So I think the kids nowadays have a better chance at doing it because you have all these different streaming platforms and you can just make your whole Instagram page a style page and call yourself a stylist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, talking
Mm-hmm.
about costume designing, that's really a skill set because you're if you're doing a period piece, you're building a costume. So I started as a stylist and then got grandfathered in as a costume designer because I did You Got Served with B2K and I was their original stylist. And kudos to Chris Stokes,
Amazing.
because Chris Stokes fought for me. They told me they did not want me because I didn't have the experience, which is true. But I figured I'm smart enough and I could figure this out. And I hired the right
Mm-hmm.
people to be around me. But when you're talking about being a costume designer, that's a completely different skill set. And you can go to school and you should go to school. And I even went back to school. So I went back to UCLA to become a costume designer because I wanted to know about renderings and dyeing and aging fabrics and buttons and research process. And if you're blessed to get a modern day film, it's a little bit easier. If you're thinking about doing a period piece, it is extremely hard, and so you need to go to school. I think styling, you there's so many different forms of styling. It's an art, it's an art. So you can either, be a high end, only want to put people in Gucci and Prada and Versace and whatever else, or you can be one that mixes, athletic wear with business wear. Like, I mean, there's so many different types of styling. So there's so many different avenues to actually get into becoming a stylist. I just think the costume designing is a little bit more difficult and a little bit more where you really study and up your game. If you really want to be a real costume designer, you really need to study that.
Right.
Even no matter how you get into
Right.
it, go back and hone your craft.
Vic, did you have to go to school as well, or what? Like, was there any classes or courses to take to learn how to gaff?
No, there are those film school students that that I run into. You know, they come to set and they've been in the books, and you know, to be an electrician and to eventually end up being the best boy or gaffer, you have to be on set. You have to get in there, get your hands dirty. You know, some of the best technicians I know, they never went, they didn't go to school at all, and some of them did. If you want to come in this and end up being a DP or a director, I strongly suggest going to school, because you'll need to learn some of the basics, things about setting up shots and things like that. But of course, I do know directors and DPs that did not go to school. As far as my profession, set lighting, set electricians and technicians and gaffers, you have to be in it. You gotta get out here and swim and actually put your hands on the equipment, learn the set etiquette, learn how to run the power a quick
Well, it
pickup
looks
shot.
like we lost.
No, I'm still here. If it's a quick,
Okay.
pickup shot, or if it's something that needs to last the entire day or for an entire week. Um, One of the most important things is to be there. You got to be on time. You got to have your tools, right? And you have to pay attention. You have to be proactive. Um, I always tell guys that come up to me and say they want to be in this industry, hey man, look out for me, hook me up. Next time you're looking for some guys, XYZ. And you could show up the first day and I know whether or not you're going to be someone I call back. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
look like he
I'm
has.
sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm getting calls. I'm actually on my phone. Sorry. Um, so yeah, I'll know whether or not you're going to be an okay, horrible, or great technician the first day you show up, because it's just about
Right.
paying attention and actually being motivated and proactive. That's it. You don't have to know a thing, and you can learn a ton in a week, or you could learn nothing in a week. You know.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep.
I started, like everybody said, I interned. I literally walked on set the first day and interned, and that's how I learned firsthand of how to work in this industry. Because I didn't go to school for that. I actually went to school for marketing and got a
Right.
marketing degree. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I definitely see, like in a lot of these industries, it's also the experience, like being hands on with
Yes.
this. That's where you get your craft, your trade. You learn so much by being on set. Did you go to school for this as well, Ken, or how did you come about? You know, what some
Well,
of the classes and courses did you?
well, when I started, there were no schools that were actually teaching courses in what I do. Um, I actually started out first. I was a musician, and I decided I wanted to be a engineer because I liked all the technical aspects of being in the studio. And so that kind of prepared me being a recording engineer, because after that point, I realized that they use some of the same equipment in film, post film work that they use in the recording studio. And so I transitioned from that, from music to film. Today, there's lots of studios like Full Sail is one. The other one's the LA Film School that they do teach post production classes. So I would say to anyone who's trying to get into that, um, you could try one of those schools. You could also do an internship, um, and then you'd have to kind of decide, because there's so many jobs that people don't know about within what I do. You'd have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to be a dialogue editor? Do you want to be an effects editor? Do you want to be an ADR editor or a mixer? Do you want to be a re-recording mixer? Do you want to be a Foley editor? I mean, these are all these jobs that are there that I think a lot of people don't know exist. So I would say if you can get an internship, that's the least expensive way um, to get into the game. But it never hurts to get an education. So I do tell people, if you can afford to go to school and get some training, that even helps you in getting the internship.
Definitely agree with you on that. Internship is the way to go. Jazz, I'm not too sure if you had school background or you just picked up a camera one day and start going on it. So, what are if there
Yeah.
are any classes or courses to take? What is some of the paths that people can do to get to where you are?
First, For Steadicam, so they do have workshops. I picked up the Steadicam myself, and like I bought a cheaper rig that was like $500, and I just started to train myself and just learn how it feels and keep it on my body. But they have workshops that you could go to out here at Tiffin, and they have another one at Steadicam that you could go to a workshop, and they have like 3 week training classes, and they have another guy out here named Greg Smith. He steady cammed Batman. He steady cammed like so many movies, and he does one on one training. So that was another thing that I did. I went and got with him, and I put a couple months in, and he taught me a lot, like one on one. So that was another big advantage for me in Steadicam.
Yeah. So I see all you guys took a non-traditional route, non-school, intern, worked firsthand, then kind of went back and like got some more schooling. So, I mean, those who are watching right now, I see a lot of questions in the comments. Please, if you got questions for any of our panelists, please make sure you go ahead and put them in there. I will be asking some questions later on. But let me get back to I want to know, since this is, the entertainment industry and we have some females and some males here, do you guys feel that males are more dominant than women in this industry? I mean, because last panel, a lot of guys said there was a lot of males on set, and I experienced being one, the only female on set, the youngest on set, and the only African American all in one project. So I want to know what you guys experience, and do you feel like it's more males and females on sets, or how do you guys work with that, and what's your light on this? We want to inspire more people of color, more females, more males, anybody in general to get behind the scenes. So how do you guys feel about that? Eureka, you
Well,
being a female producer, I mean, you do the hiring. So
Right.
who do you look for more on when you're hiring?
I definitely do. I look for more women. I I would say I usually come in, like I would say the last, I'd say maybe the last four films, the three prior, you know, a lot of the decisions were collaborative decisions, and they were pretty male dominant sets. Um, I had a little more control on the last film that I did, which comes out hopefully very soon, called Gangland, which is a musical, and I definitely put effort into having more women on set. Even as I've moved, I also produce shows. Um, I recently moved out to Las Vegas, and I produced a show in Las Vegas. And as you know, Jay Sasha, one of my main goals when hiring is I try to hire as many um, female workers as I can. I love working with other women. I just think we bring there's a certain power that comes with our femininity when we come together. And of course, sprinkled with, some strong men, I think makes a really good balance. But yeah, it's usually men. I usually bump into the men on set. Not a lot of women, and hopefully that'll be changing soon.
Is that the same for you, Ken or Vic? Like, is it more males in you guys' field than there are females? And why do you think that is?
well, well, I would say in my field, yes, it's definitely male dominated, and it's definitely mostly, Caucasian male dominated. Actually, we just did a count of like all the people we knew that were African American that worked, on the A and B side of post, doing A and B projects. And there were like 10 of us, and I think there was there were like three women out of the 10.
Wow. Wow.
I'm
And you
surprised by
Everybody
said
else,
that.
how many of those were African
I'm sorry. Yeah, those were all African
American? And how many?
American. There were
Wow.
10 of us total, and three were women.
Wow. So I hope those who watching now, like, inspire your friends, anybody. We need to bring more color behind the scenes as much as is in front of the camera. There's projects out there such as Black Panther, where they have a lot of. I wouldn't say Black Panther. But there's a lot of people who work in front of the camera as well as behind the camera that we want to bring more color to the scenes. So, how is it? Is it the same in your field? Is there a lot of male costume designers or stylists in this, or is it more female driven? I'm not too sure in that category.
I think both. We have a lot of male costume designers, but typically our wardrobe departments are the department heads are usually females.
Okay, amazing.
And we usually, yeah, we have different issues though, because as a department head, you are equal with every other department head, and I think a lot of times we run into a little bit of male egos when you're requesting something or you're demanding something, or you're holding true to what your department needs are. So we have issues in that way. I wish we had a few more males in our department, because you'd like to push them over there and let them kind of, I guess, be the go between, I should say, because we tend to have to fight a different battle. And then a lot of times it's also not dealing with Black, you're dealing with white. So now you're telling a white male what your department needs are, which sometimes is received very well.
Right.
I mean, I can definitely agree to that. I mean, Jazz, I have yet to see any female Steadicam operators. Are there any out there, or worked with any before? Can you name a few?
It's one name. I know her name is Steady Jess. She does a lot of TV Steadicam stuff, but I have not seen lots of females. I've seen maybe my whole career. I've probably seen like 5, 6 Steadicam females. So it's definitely not a lot of women in Steadicam, and we need more.
We definitely need more. I know there's a lot of big, heavy materials moving on the gaffing side and the rigging side. Is there a lot of females in that area as well, Vic?
Not a lot. There are some, not a lot.
And are they African American?
I have not met a Black female electrician. I have not one. I do know some Caucasian ones. I think the only ones that I know are not even Spanish or anything like that. Definitely male dominated, but like you said, and when I do, I hire whatever. I of course try to hire mostly us, because almost every show I'm on, man, the electric department is 95 to 100% Caucasian. And it's weird because when I come with my crew, like my rigging crew is predominantly Black, and I get said to me about it. When I hire a white guy, oh, you got a white guy on your crew today, huh? I say, do you ever say that to the white crews? Do you say, oh, you got a Black guy? You don't say that because you're just so. It's just an anomaly you're seeing an Black electric crew. So when you see me hire a Caucasian person, you're like, oh, you got a white guy today, huh? It's like, that's not something you say when you see other things. I guess it's kind of just like the Jesus thing. If you see a Black Jesus, you say something, oh, Black Jesus, just because it's generally assumed he's white, So I guess they just generally assume that and unfortunately, for years and years, it's been a Caucasian dominated field. We're just now getting to it, and honestly, there's a whole lot of us coming into it now. As far as gaffers, I'm probably one of 4 in Atlanta. And honestly, I know all the other ones very well. Some of them are the ones who got me started. So.
Who are some of your mentors that got you started? Like, who are some of your mentors?
The late great Carl Johnson. He passed years ago. Everybody pretty much knows him. Carl Johnson and lots of his family is in the industry now. Also, actually, his son is one of the other gaffers. His name is Carl Johnson. Um, who else? Now Carl Johnson,
What,
he came up
wait, what was one of the
like
things he told you?
that.
Like, what was
He taught.
something that he told you? Yeah,
Oh,
or taught you, or
he taught me all I said. Be on time, be paying attention, always try to be proactive, know what's going on. Carl Johnson's a legend here in Atlanta. He did like all the Hype Williams videos back in the day, all the when the videos had like 500,000 to $1 million budgets, he was doing those videos. Now you're lucky to get like a $30,000 budget on videos. But he ended up at Tyler Perry. He was the gaffer at Tyler Perry Studios the last couple of years before he passed. Yeah,
wow.
and
Does
he was
anybody else
really
have any mentors that taught them something? The do's and don'ts of the industry when you first started. Like, what was something that your mentor taught you that stuck with you to this day?
I don't really think, well, I can't really say if I had a bunch of mentors, but I did research and study. Crystal Wright was the agent that signed me with no experience as an intern. And then I just kind of learned things through trial and error. As I segued into becoming a costume designer, then I went back and I followed the Black costume designers that I knew, which was Sharon Davis or, John. Like, there's only a handful. Even now, we are doing the Black Costume Designers Coalition, and there's only like under 50 Black costume designers. Union costume designers, So you followed the Michelle Coles because, they were killing it, and I think that was I guess when I came in, there weren't that many. You had like, as a stylist, you had June Ambrose on the West Coast and Misa Hilton on the West Coast and April and myself on the East Coast and April and myself on the West Coast. And most of our videos were collabs. So you kind of just picked off of what this person was doing or tried to share resources or I think most of the stylists in my era, we weren't competitive. We were more collaborative. Like, if
That's
Misa
good.
came out here and was like, oh, I'm trying to get some such and so and my Nordstrom card ain't working, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna meet you up here. It was a little bit different. We weren't going for followings. We were going for, the creative look. If I did B2K bump, 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 and April did the dancers, we talked. You know what I mean? If she couldn't find red shoes, I'm looking for red shoes for her. So I think ours was a little different in the sense of trying to find mentors because we were kind of like in that first group of like real stylists making what he was talking about, this budget money. Like, we were making like $2,500 a day. Now they ask us to do the whole video for $2,500. So you're like, I don't really want to do styling. Who's it for? What's it? Because if the work is still the expectation is still the same. People still want to be dressed fly, but the budgets are not the same. We had $40,000 budgets for clothes. You're not getting
working with
movie. So the dynamics changed. So for me, it was the people who you were working with that was your inspirations. It was the Chris Stokes who, you doing everything by trial and error, and he's saying yay or nay, but you're just trying to get to the end. So for me, it was a little bit different in terms of mentorship, and it's still a little different now because the kids ain't interested in really what you're saying. They looking at your numbers. Your Instagram numbers. I got 800 followers, but I own a $500,000 condo. Like, the two don't really go. My money didn't come from. They're looking at the wrong numbers, and they're not looking at the longevity, and they're not looking at how you got here or what little advice you could give for them to get theirs up a notch. Who cares about followers when you working and you eating? Everybody, I think this generation is a generation of wanting to be famous. We wanted to work. I wanted my work to be my fame. I liked being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about the people in my industry that we looked up to, it came about a little bit differently. Like I said, when I went back to school and I had to do the costume designer thing, then I had to go and find Ruth Carter and write my papers on Ruth Carter and know everything that she did and go back and watch her films and study her, and then hope that when I'm in this junior place, I can meet her and ask her a bunch of questions. So it was a little different on the fashion side. So.
And how about for the camera operator? Did you have mentors? And what was something that they told you, and like, do's and don'ts on sets, or just something that stuck with you to, elevate your career? Are you there,
You
Jeff?
said me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, no one really told me the do's and don'ts for Steadicam. I really learned those on my own. Like it was one shot that I had to do for I think it was a J Lo video. I think it was a J Lo video, and it was a shot that I couldn't do, and it was a push. It was like a simple push in, but the super slow Steadicam dolly ins are one of the hardest shots because your body has to literally be still while you try to do and push as smoothly as you can for like 2 or 3 footsteps, and you don't want to see steps, you don't want to see bounces. And when I did that shot, you could see little steps, so as the frame was coming in, you could see a bounce bounce, and they were seeing that in the director. He sent me home because I couldn't do it. So I had to find it out on my own. And that really, from that day forward, I went out and I practiced and practiced and practiced that same exact push. So now I can do it if I ever get hired by that director again. So, it's just, no one really ever told me the do's and don'ts as far as like what to do, what not to do. I just really had to find it out on my own as experience in LA and working on bigger and bigger and bigger sets.
Thank you so much, Ken. Or
Yeah.
do you have a mentor within your field? And what's some of
Well,
the things you learned, or something that you can tell someone who's coming up in your career that you want to give them advice?
well, I would say this. I mean, when I started out, I spent 3 years uh, coming from my day job and going at night and sitting with this white guy. His name was Richard Thomas, and he sort of took me under his wing and kind of taught me quite a bit. And so I guess mentor wise, he would be that guy. But it's ironic that years later, I'm working at this company called Sound Deluxe. It's two brothers there, me and another brother. And so I walk up to him, and he was, a little higher on the rung than me. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, we should. It's only two of us here. We should look out for each other." And I remember him telling me, "Why should I do that?" Right? And I couldn't believe it. So I would just say, let's not do that to each other. Like, if we have the opportunity to help each other, I think that we should. And I don't think there should be any question in doing that.
So what is something that you would tell your younger self getting into, this field?
As far as what? I mean,
Just
in regard
some,
to,
or just something that you wish you would have known back when you first got started.
I think the biggest thing for me is probably that this is a relationship business, right? Of course, you got to be talented. You got to have some skills. But beyond that, it's about relationships. That's what propels you forward, right? Other people. So for a long time, I spent a lot of time thinking, well, I know I'm talented. I know I'm really, really good at what I do, and that'll take me where I want it to go. And it never did. And when I started gaining momentum in my career was really when I started to nurture my relationships and keep in touch with people and making sure that people don't forget who I am and that I'm here.
Definitely. Entertainment, this field is all about networking, who you know, and definitely what you can do. So always, that was really great that you mentioned that. I want to talk and switch gears a little bit more on how you guys are getting your jobs. Because it's like once you got the experience, or you you've been in the field, how do you get your next job and your next job? Because once a project is done, where do you go after that? So can you guys let me know, like, how do you get your jobs? Is there like a website or link to find jobs, or, let everybody know where they can go to find these opportunities?
I'll say for me, I'll piggyback off what Ken said. It's relationships. Like, I haven't gotten a job because I got Instagram or Facebook. I get my jobs because somebody calls me from 10 years ago and be like, oh my God, I was so glad, you still got the same phone number. I got this project, or reoccurring business, or, I segue between styling and then television and film, and then commercials. And then, so sometimes now they can see your work on Instagram, but most of my work has come through relationships. And also, like Ken said, going backwards, and like, I am a person that works in Hollywood, but I'm not Hollywood. So I wouldn't necessarily go to all the things I was invited to. I, finish my job, or just want to go back home and hang with my regular folks. And I had to find out that you have to engage and go to a lot of events that you typically don't want to go to, because every time I do this, a job finds me. Somebody's like, are you still styling, or are you still doing costume design? And then there's, oh my God, I have a project for you. So most of my jobs have all been from relationships. I even some of my styling clients have started to do television and film, like Maya and B2K and Shaq. And so I ended up getting those jobs because I was their stylist, and I actually had the credentials to be a costume designer as well. But it is important to nurture the relationships, send a hey, how you doing? I was just thinking about you, follow up for a coffee. You have to invest in people and not just the projects, because when the projects come, it's the first person that's on their mind. You don't want to be the person that they be like, man, I just had this movie. I didn't know you were still doing it. And it's social media allows you to, I guess, keep some of the contacts, by liking somebody's picture, but it's still nothing like the picking up the phone and or meeting for lunch, relationships that keep you going.
Is that the same way you go about your jobs, Vic? How do you get your job?
Yeah, I'm piggybacking off of both of them. It's absolutely relationship based. It's word of mouth based. It's going to the little barbecues. It's going to someone's little party they're having at their house. It's going to rap parties, even if you didn't work on that show. If you can find your way to get in there, go ahead and go. And it's showing up and actually showing out. Because I know tons of guys. I'm just like, dude, which department are you in? Like one day he's an electrician, then he's a grip, and then he's working in set deck, and then he's a PA, and then he producing something. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how you just jumping all around into every, and it's because they're very charismatic. They have a good personality and attitude. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, as a department head, I'd rather hire the guy with a good personality that's just good enough to get the job done than the dude that has like a crappy personality and just makes the days longer, but is like the best technician on the planet. I swear I'd rather just have that guy that has a better personality, because I see the people I work with more than I see anybody else. And everybody on this panel knows that. I see you more than I see my children, my wife,
12-hour days.
Yeah, and I don't want to be miserable around you. I want to be around people with good, positive attitudes, because this is a long day. So yeah, that's the end all of it. Like you gotta stay in people's face. You gotta stay on people's minds, especially when you're first starting out. Once you get going, you get to the point where you're getting so many calls, you're just turning down stuff. You know what I mean? To where it's like, do I want to do that? Whereas when you first started out, man, you hear a person turn down the job, and you're like, what? You just turned that job down. What are you working on? Well, I'm not working on anything right now. I just don't prefer to do that job. I've worked with that producer before, and you get to that point. Whereas when you first start, man, you're doing any and everything. Sometimes you're not sleeping, And I tell people that too, dude. Every call you get, take it and show up because you want to meet as many people as you can when you're first starting out in this business. You can't say no to a call. If you already got a job, right, and you're working 3 weeks for me, and then somebody calls you just for one day, I would tell you, hey, go ahead and go over there with that dude. I can replace you for tomorrow because you don't know what type of relationship that's going to turn into for you. Because once you're
Mhm.
done working here with me for 3 weeks, I don't know what I'm going to have next, and I don't know what my crew
Right.
size is going to be. Matter of fact, the only reason you're here with me on this show is because two of my other dudes were busy on something else. You know what I mean? That's how it happens. You know, and you're of course in my phone, you're in my Rolodex now, but you want as many people to know who you are as possible. You know, you gotta if it's somebody you work with already, and then somebody who you don't know calls you, it's best to take the one you don't know. You know, just because that's another relationship. You know.
Right.
Hmm.
Jazz, I mean, like I seen your social media, and you're probably like one of the younger people on this panel. Who do you use your social
Yeah.
media to get jobs, or what all do you
Oh
do?
yeah. So yeah, it was different for me. Social media, yeah, it I usually kind of half and half. Like I did a lot of PA days on set, meeting people and getting people's information on set. But then I did a lot of social media too. A lot of people don't know, but that's how I met Real Rage to do one of these Smokey Robinson videos. Like I never knew who Real Rage was until Instagram, and I reached out to him, and he checked my page, and then I found out that Jay Tasha, you knew him, and then I was like, oh, that's even better because now I know somebody that knows him, and I want to work with him. So it all just came together through Instagram to give me that job. So I'm not gonna tell
You
you a
slid into
story
some
like
DMs. What
Instagram,
you're saying?
huh?
You slid into some DMs to get your network.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's COVID right
and it
now,
actually,
so I mean, you
and
can't meet
yeah,
people in person.
well, it was before COVID. It was before COVID. Like, I'm not gonna tell you a story. Like, some of my biggest jobs came from a DM to a director. Like, I did Future through Instagram. I did the Smokey Robinson through meeting Real Rage through Instagram. I met a lot of directors like just sliding in their DMs and like, yo, can I help you? Can I do anything? Like, I didn't know no one when I first moved here to LA from Texas 3 years ago. And the first year, like, I had no work, but I had a red camera in my right here inside of my apartment, and I had no work at all, and I was getting discouraged. Like, I was gonna go back home. I was gonna move back home because I didn't know what to do to get the jobs. But then I just sat back and thought about it. I was just like, let me start reaching out. And when I started reaching out, it started working. And then I reached out to the next person, and then I started to do jobs for directors that knew other directors. So I did a job for, let's say, Real Rage that knows another director, and I'm like, well, he did the Smokey Robinson. Now let's give him a try and see if he can do this one. And then that I got that job, and then the next one came, and then the next one came, and then on set, some of those PAs that I got information from, those people were directors now to this day. Now they call me for jobs, so it's just it don't stop now. It's like whoa,
It's funny that you mentioned PAs. We had a PA on our behind the scenes part one, and she mentioned like
uh-huh.
the PAs are the person who is in every area of film, like in departments. They are over there.
Right,
They have to go tap into wardrobe, makeup,
right,
the camera department. They know every area. So I know a lot of PAs who are best friends. Like make them your
oh
best
yeah,
friends because they know when the next job is before you do.
yeah,
True.
for sure.
Right. So, Eureka, I mean, how do you get your jobs? How do you find your next projects? How do you go about producing? Like, where do you get jobs from? Is there an online bulletin or like where do you
I,
come from? How do you
I
find
wish,
jobs?
I wish that were the case for me. I'm knee deep in independent world, so it is very much eat what you kill. So we are constantly in develop of our own projects. So I haven't had a chance of being outsourced. I don't know what the thrill and excitement that brings yet is yet. But no, I'm pretty much eat what you kill. I create my own projects in conjunction with Jean-Claude Lamar, who started off as my mentor and is now my business partner. And I produce a show in Las Vegas. So that's pretty much how I get my work.
Okay. I mean, everybody now has been very creative. I've seen a lot of people coming out with stories that they're writing at home since people are at home for COVID. I know a lot of people are writing right now and working on projects. So I do know social media, like Jazz said, is another way to, slide into my DMs. If you don't know, maybe you guys need to send some emails. Everybody got a call sheet from their first job. Just check in with some people, see how they're doing, what's going on, see if there's another project going on. Like, I'm pretty sure. So I mentioned jobs. Are any of you guys in the union? Can you talk about being in the union and what different unions there are, or projects you worked on that got you to the union? Like, what was your first project that got you into the union? Can you let us know, Ken? Are you in the union, and is there any projects that you worked on that got you into the union, and how? Like, what's that process?
Yeah. I'm local IIC local 700. Um, when I got my first show was 95. It was a show called Melrose Place, and it was a union show. So I had to be in the union prior to that. So as I was training with the gentleman I spoke about, Richard Thomas, I had got enough days in a recording studio to apply to become a member of the union, and so I did. So when the call came, I was already in the union and prepared to go.
Is anybody else in the union? Do we?
I got into IATSE Local 892, the Costume Designers Guild, when I did the movie You Got Served. And it was a non-union show that flipped to union. So I have such a love-hate.
What makes a movie flip?
Well, on this particular one, we had a smaller budget. And as we started the rehearsals and the hype got going and they saw how big this movie was about to be, that budget increased. And with that, they decided to make it go union, which was great because I got into the union. I was the youngest Black costume designer. I was like, Mama, we made it. I'm in the union. Woo. You realize the union doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't help you find jobs. And when you come in the way that I came in, which was grandfathered in, you don't go the normal steps. So you're not meeting the producers and the directors and the people that are on that side. You are on the music side, and now you have just gotten blessed to be on the television side. So for me, the experience was I had to go backwards, and I had to start doing a lot of independent films to build my resume so that I could meet the people that were the directors that were on the bigger directors. Now, also fortunate, a lot of the video directors then flipped over to the other side too. So you had those relationships. I believe the unions now will start to work a little bit better because when I got in, I didn't know they don't have mixers, and we don't know who's a Black costume designer and who's a white costume designer. And I actually took a meeting with the president of the Costume Designers Guild. She was like, we get requests all the time for Black costume designers and we don't know any. And I'm like, well, blacklist me because here I am. Unfortunately, they still don't consider us first. So there's a Black movie that will come up and a Black costume designer is not the person who is considered even in the consideration. Because I also believe that fashion can be colorless. So you can recreate, 90s hip hop, but you can't put the swag on it. You got to be a Black girl to be able to know how to put the swag on the wardrobe. But you can pick, like, for instance, Straight Outta Compton. You can pick khakis and Dickies and all those things or whatever, but you can't take the hat and flip it and, how we used to do our crocus sacks. So it was a white costume designer, but her whole entire crew was my girls. So it was the Black girls who picked the wardrobe, who went to Greenwood, who lived that life, that put it all together. So when it came to the union, I believe now I stepped out because they weren't doing anything for me except for taking my money. And then I just rejoined because of the Black Costume Designers Coalition, and being able to get on a Zoom call and see all these really Black, talented women who you have no idea they are the wardrobe person behind Star Wars. What? You know what I mean? Or Star Trek. Like things like that. Like, you have no idea that it was a Black woman who created these different looks or whatever for Star Trek. So I believe now, since we've all got an alignment, and you can see that it's still this small cluster of Black women who are creating all this amazing fashion, that now we can help each other, because now we see each other's faces. Like, Sharon Davis couldn't give me a job. She was barely getting a job. You know what I mean? So now we are to be more supportive, like what Ken was saying, if we can help each other, then let's help each other. If we can reach the 705, and help each other. I got 11 girls that I put in 705 who work all the time. But in 892, my union, it's a little bit harder. And the unions don't really do anything. But if a job opportunity comes open and you union, you get the job. So it's a catch-22.
Do you get paid more being in the union than you do if you were non-union? Is it paid different? Like, what's the benefit of being a part of the union? Why someone should do it? And I mean, I don't know if anybody. I know there's SAG and AFTRA for actors. You guys mentioned the TSE. Different unions. Like, is it a pay different?
Yeah. So here, Local 479 is the union here in Georgia. The difference between being in the union and not being in the union, because Georgia's a right for hire state. So you really can't discriminate and not hire a person on the job just because they aren't in the union. It's more of a person-to-person thing, I could be that union rah-rah guy and not hire you because you're not in the union. Or I could kind of be put on like a blacklist, by the other people that are in the union if I always just hire people that aren't union. It's kind of a, they want you to kind of stick together thing. The difference in the pay is nothing. If I hire someone that's not union, they get paid the same rate. Like, the rate for a set electrician on a union show is just what the rate is. It's not any different because you're union or non-union. The difference is, if you are union, you get health benefits. And you get annuity, which is your like retirement plan. Like, they pay towards that without you having to do anything. So it is ultimately better to be in the union for longevity and for health benefits. And ultimately, there's people that, if you haven't went through the process of the trial of actually getting into the union, being voted in, being signed off on, and having the true experience. Because if you're in the union, it's said that you are, skilled at the profession. You should know what you're doing if you are in the union. But honestly, our union will take anybody's money. You just pay the money, you're in the union. They don't check to see anything. And as my costume designer sister said, they've never called me and said, "Hey, are you working? Well, here you go. This show is starting." Nope. All we do is get emails about the new productions that are coming into town, and I got to make that call myself. Or if someone already knows me, which is good now because I've been doing it for 10 years, people know me. I have people randomly call me and text me because my number is on the site, and they'll see that I'm a rigging gaffer or a gaffer, and, "Hey, my name is James such and such. I'm a hard worker, such and such. If you're ever looking for guys, I've done this, I've worked on this show." That's how we find jobs. The way that this new guy that just got into the union is randomly texting me. My name isn't in the text. He sent that same text to the other 50 people that he saw on there. It's a generic text that I get, so, but Teamster Union, on the other hand, the Teamster Union, Local 700, oh yeah, they have a list. You go on the list, and they got an A, B, C, D list. The A list guys get all the jobs first. Then they go to the B list, and they go down the line. Wow. And I don't know if it's any different in the camera union, but I know and this is Georgia too. Like, I know in New York, If you're in the union in New York, it's that way. If you're an electrician in New York, you just sit at home and just wait for the call. You know, they just call you, hey, we got a job. Which one you want to go on? We got 3 shows starting up. Boom, boom, and you just choose. You know, but no, and then like, well, it used to be like 600 to get into our union. Now it's like 1,600 to get into local
Wow.
479. And I was also
That's
grandfathered in. I worked on the game in like 2009. I wasn't in the
a game
union,
that was
and it wasn't a union show, and it flipped union. So when I went to actually go ahead and pay my money to get into the union, right as I was on my way, my buddy that had started right when I started, he called me and said, hey, you been to the union yet? He said, yo, don't pay the money. I just got in for free because the game flipped and such. So I went and I was like, hey, I worked on the game, and the lady gave me a whole different stack of paperwork, and I filled it out, and that's how I got into the union too, just because the show flipped. So if you work on the show that flips union, you automatically get into the union. I don't know
Well, the
why.
costume
okay.
designers we pay. Costume
You said
designers
what?
we pay. The costume designers we pay. It's
Oh yeah, even if it
$5,000
flips.
there, even if it flips, unless it's already in
Oh,
your
okay.
contract or you work out something with production. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's 5,000.
But you don't have to get the votes and all of that, I guess. You don't have to get people to sign off for you. Okay,
No.
got you.
But you
Well,
skip quite a few steps. You don't have to do your
mhm.
sketches. You don't have to get the sign offs. You don't have to get the recommendation letters.
Okay.
Well, you still do have to get the recommendation letters, but now you do. But it's $5,000 to join our illustrious union. But there is there's because I was like, you get the bragging rights. Like he's saying, like when I walk in, and sometimes it does help with the pay scales, because when I'm doing commercials, sometimes they will come and say, you know, the rate is $500. You're like, absolutely not. I am an IAT costume designer, and my rate is $1,500. They, you know, and your rate is $1,500. So you do have that. And then there's some other perks. I've done some commercials where the advertising agency didn't want to pay for me to travel, but it was such a great job, and it was so many jobs, and I was going to make so much money off this campaign. I was like, I'll pick up my own travel. I don't care. So as I get to Chicago, the guy is going over my paperwork, and he's like, "You're union?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Do they know you're union?" And I was like, "I don't know. I put it on my paperwork." He was like, "Yeah, I need to pick up your hotel. I need to reimburse you for your travel, because if you complain," which I didn't even know. I wouldn't complain. I was like, I'm going to pay $1,500 in travel, and I'm about to make $36,000 for these 6 commercials. Like, who cares about the travel? So he ended up calling the other company, the other production company, and was like, "Do you know she's union?" When we finished the jobs, about a month later, I got an email from them saying, "Hey, Catrice, we came in under budget. We'd like to pay you a travel stipend." So I know that was because I was union, that they went back and was like, "Let me give this girl her good money, because we don't want to get hit with this fine for how we tried to play her." So it does have perks if you get in any kind of trouble or bind, but in terms of trying to find work, they haven't been great.
Gotcha. I mean, so it has its ups and downs depending on, you know, which field you're in. So it all determines where you want to go and how you want to be a part in your relationships. But I do right this time, I want to get into some questions from the audience. I see YouTube been going up, Facebook been going up, and I have a question here for Jazz. Kalitha George wants to know, what was in the project where you did all of the spinning? Can you go ahead and repeat what show that was?
Ooh, that project. It's not. I don't think it's actually out yet. But it was. The guy is named Jay Bilderberg. He's from Atlanta. It wasn't a big famous project though. So, but if I can get the link, I can send it to her to post. I'm trying to find it real
Okay,
quick.
no problem.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have people connect with you. We'll post your social media, and we'll talk about where they can contact you. So let me get to my next question real quick. I have one from Audrey Pearson. Audrey says, I have previously been a PA experience and event coordinating. How can I transition into TV and film industry if my prior work experience is 5 to 10 years old? Uh, is anybody, Eureka, you want to tap in on how they can get their PA experience, even if it's 5 to 10 years old? How do they get into TV and film?
I would say go back to interning. Go back to interning, hit those blogs, hit those different websites that some of our colleagues were mentioning earlier, and get with someone you know. Get with anyone. Just get to working. Reach out social media, which was working out for Jazz. Um, do any and everything you can within means to go ahead and get to work.
Right.
I don't think it matters how long ago your experience was. Just get to work.
It's all about, like you guys mentioned, the networking. So reach out, slide in them DMs, send an email, do your research. Right. My next question is going to go towards Catrice, or it was more of a statement, I believe. This one is from Leah Daphne. Wants to know, or says, "Hi, Catrice. I've always been so proud of you and how you always reach out to help others. Are you currently taking any interns or mentorships, or helping anybody currently?"
No, because it's COVID and I ain't trying to work. But no, I'm just kidding. All the time. Like, this job is so incredibly hard, and a lot of people say they want to do it until you get behind the scenes. Like, we show the glamorous side, but you are carrying stuff and driving from place to place, and trying to convince somebody who's an 8 that this 2 ain't gonna fit. Like, it's a lot of work. So yeah, I would say just kind of keep in touch, DM me, and whenever I have a job, I always invite anybody to come to set. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of girls that I put in 705, and they work all the time. The object of the game is to help the next person, but I feel like a lot of people say they want to do this job, and when you really start doing this job, it's not as glamorous. It's the name of my company is Blue Collar because this is hard labor. Like, this is you missing a lot of your friends. You missing birthday parties. You're up at 6 a.m. because you're calling the East Coast, but you don't go to bed until midnight, and you don't stop shopping until 12, and then you're still trying to find a Target that's open to get essentials. So you spend a lot of time sleeping. We only post the good pictures. We don't tell you how hard this is, that your back hurts, your feet hurt, you mad at everybody. Your time is not your time. You don't know your next job. It's a lot. So if anybody wants to do that, they are welcome to come follow me and keep in touch, because I will gladly put you to work. But I do everything that I ask everybody else to do because it really is that hard.
Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to know, what is 705? You mentioned it before. I don't think they know. Can you just repeat what the 705 is?
Okay, so 892 is the costume designers union, and then 705 is the key costumers and the costume guild. So basically, they're I don't want to say it in like layman's terms, like the assistants or the people that are under the costume designers, and it goes into a couple of different branches. So those girls work a lot because the costume designer has to get the job, and then they can bring in the 705 girls, the costumers, the key costumers, and things like that. They work all the time because they can go from different costume designers, whereas we are like one entity by ourselves.
The same person actually said Catrice is also a great interior director. She's so creative. She just don't know it yet. So I guess you got another job. I don't know. You get into another field.
I'm in a whole remodel. Maybe somebody that follows me, because during COVID I've remodeled my home. So I'm over here. I've been remodeling. I'm off for a little while. Look at God. What are you doing, Shalabanda?
This next question I have is for Ken Johnson. Jason wants to know, have you been working more since COVID because you're in a post studio and projects? Have you been getting more projects since you were since COVID started?
Well, I guess the short answer is no. But I was fortunate because I had three Amazon Blumhouse movies that I was doing, two which got released a couple of weeks ago, Evil Eye and Nocturne. So I'm just finishing the third one, which is called The Manor. So I've kind of been able to work through this whole COVID thing. So I've been fortunate to have work that was already done prior to COVID.
Okay. Okay. And has COVID affected anybody else during this time? I know Catrice said she likes being at home, but has jobs picked up for you too, Vic and Jazz? Have you been working more?
Yeah. I must say, we've been talking about the union a lot, but most music videos, they aren't union. I've probably worked
Mm-hmm.
one union video out of 30, 40, and then that cycle starts all over again. The music video world is unfortunately a lot less COVID compliant, and
I mean, we all know Atlanta is wide open. So
yeah,
Atlanta
so
is wide.
yeah, as you mentioned, I own a studio. I own a production studio here, Classic Film Studios. So um, we had a lot of clients booked right before COVID, and then like all of them canceled as soon as everything shut down. But then 2 weeks later, they just start trickling in and trickling in
Mm-hmm.
and trickling in, and it was as if there was no crisis at all. Of course, everyone's wearing masks and things like that, but
Oh.
I mean, and honestly, I've worked commercials too that are like super strict. Like, okay, so you're gonna the set deck's gonna go in first, and we won't have more than 4 people on set at a time. This is how the day starts at like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But about as soon as we start shooting, it's just this normal chaos of a production. All of that kind of goes out the window. They're looking at the watches, it's
Mm-hmm.
time and stuff, and sometimes people kind of generally forget, but everyone's, wearing a mask, but the whole only 4 people on set becomes just a regular hustle and bustle day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say it has affected my union work because there wasn't a lot of union work. Most of the production shut down, but it hasn't affected like I'm a person that works in the regular music video world and the more professional planned out union production world. So the video world really didn't see any change. It I mean, and I think that's mainly what jazz does. It didn't really
Yeah.
change. It may have right at the beginning of it was a little different, but then it
Yeah.
just picked right back up. I mean, like right back
Yeah.
up. It just didn't ever seem any different. Besides for people
I
wearing
mean,
Oh,
masks.
yeah, I did two jobs, and we in California, we about to move, and
Yeah.
it was why I'm like, I'm good until we can get it together. It was twice as hard for wardrobe. We had to drop wardrobe off early. The
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
costume houses where you had to email to get an appointment, then they had to email you back, and then there's only 2 of you. Then you had to provide a COVID test, and then you had to go and get
Yep.
get a thermometer on your head, and they only open from 12 to 2. Like,
Yeah.
and the contract was still the same. Like we had a week to prep, but you only take you 3 days to get into the costume house, and then you can only go in the specific aisles that you said. So I'm going for 80s. I can only go to 80s this day, and I got to come back, and then I got to go to 90s, and then the stores were closed at 7. So it is twice as hard for the costume designers, and like I said, in California, and then they were union jobs, so they were extra. No more than 2 people from your team in here. It was a lot. It was absolutely a lot, and I did a video, which was hot, but I just sent the wardrobe for the video. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Them
And it's
budgets
picking
change.
back up. Yeah, and it's picking
Yeah.
back up here. I just did Marvel, this 3-week Marvel thing it's called
Oh.
Tag Team. You got a COVID test every 2 days. You know, we got to wipe all of our equipment down whenever it comes. If you hand off a light to somebody, you got to wipe it down when you get it from them. It's just like
What?
mandatory 10-hour days, not the whole like 12, 14, 16 hours. Absolutely a no. It's only 10-hour days. Um, and then if someone tests positive on your crew, pretty much everybody has to go home because you've been around those people. I mean, it's like you get shut down for 2 days and that person can't come back for 10 days, to where I had to double up on my crew just in case somebody tested positive. I had to have
Oh,
another 6 guys that have already been tested and ready to go to come in that next day.
Wow.
dang.
And then don't let me have to
Wow.
get sent home too. It's just then it's all crazy, you know. So
It's a
it, it
lot.
it's been different and it's been challenging. I don't know where all this. Obviously, there's some type of extra budget built in for the COVID situation because my crews have doubled, and then I know the test got to cost some kind of money because there's testing going on like constantly. I mean, it's
Right.
500-person crew testing every 3 days. You know. Yeah.
Whew.
It's a
What is
lot.
your
I'm
time
so glad.
management like? How is time management affected by having to wipe every single piece of equipment down, especially in your department?
Oh yeah. I mean, a day that was going to be 10 setups is now 5 setups to just
Mm-hmm.
account for that extra time.
Got
I
it.
mean, it's just
Got it.
you're not doing as much, you know, at all, you know. And like I said, if I end up having to hire a day player, I can't. Like if someone calls in sick, I can't replace them because this person
Wow.
hasn't been tested, and now I'm just, instead of me
Yeah.
having 6 guys this day, I got 4, you know. And but they don't change
Wow.
the day. I still got the same amount of work, you know.
Oh,
So
the train keep going. The train keeps going.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Walking.
yeah.
Oh
So
man.
before we wrap this up, I want to thank you guys all for being here. I want you guys to all, let the world know what is one thing that you go by that keeps you going in your field, and also let them know what you got going on and where they can contact you. Because I know a lot of people are in the comments like, I want to reach out, want to know if you guys are accepting mentorships or interns or just anything of that sort. So can you guys go ahead? I'm gonna start with Eureka. Let them know who you are, what you got going on, and how they can reach you. And just one positive
Okay.
quote.
Perfect. My name is Eureka Pratt. You can find me on Instagram, mainly on Instagram at Eureka Pratt. Email, I'll give it to Jay Tasha. You can post my email address later if you like. Right now, I am, film is down for me. Film and TV is down. So I am still in Las Vegas. And I am producing a live male review show called Black Magic Live. It is the first and only all black male review show in Las Vegas. And there is production on that end. So if you are ever in the Vegas area, you're into stage shows with sound, lighting, all different need. I would love to meet you in here. Eerie Depressed. I would say not give up. That's it. Move to the beat of your own drum. Remain authentic and keep pushing forward.
Well, thank you so much, Eureka. We are so glad to have you here. We will definitely, go over to PAFF at PAFF now to find everybody's social media. Next, I have Victor Bland, Massive Bland, Mr. Gaffer here. Can you let everybody know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and just one quote that you go by that keeps you going?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Victor. I also go by Massive. I have my personal Instagram. I guess I could hold this up. I don't know if y'all can see that. At Massive the Victor is my personal page, and at Classic Film Studios ATL is the actual production studio. Um, I have union work. I have non-union work, and I have internships. Of course, if you're a person that is learning and doesn't know anything yet, the latter applies to you. That's the internship. But there's plenty of stuff to do around here, plenty of things to learn. In Classic Film Studios, we have a huge psych wall, a white psych wall. We have art department in-house, meaning if you're interested in building sets or anything of that nature and learning that part of the world, we do that here. We also do lighting and grip, and we do camera in-house. Quote would be stay shining. That's what I say all the time. Never let nobody dim your light. All right. Don't change yourself and not be who you are because of someone else. Okay.
That's a really, really good one. Well, thank you so much, Victor, for being here. We definitely appreciate you. And I want everybody to go follow you now on social media. Because you got a lot going on. You definitely hiring people. So keep the work going. And we need more people of color behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Victor. Next, thank you. Next, I have Ken Johnson, Mr. Post Sound Engineer. Can you let everybody know where they can follow you and what you have going on?
Well, actually, I should have my daughter here. She does all my social media. But you can check out my page. It's www.artistryandsound.com. That's the name of my company. It's an audio post-production house. I'm actually probably the only 100% black-owned company of its kind. And very proud of that. So, yeah, you can check out my page. You can check. Also, it has a link to my IMDb, and you can check out some of my work.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And is there one little quote you go by or something you want to tell somebody who's getting into the industry?
Well, I would just say, man, just you really got to be focused and you really got to be committed to trying to achieve your goal. And if someone shuts the door, figure out how to crawl in a window. Don't take no for it. It's something that you want to do.
Right. Thank you so much. We have Catrice. I'm sorry. We have Jazz. Hey, Jazz. Can you let us know where they can find you, what you got going on, and just a quote that you live by?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram. Follow me at SteadyCamJazz, SteadyCamJazz. Follow me at SteadyCamJazz. And my tip for anybody getting in the industry right now is just give it a shot. Come to LA, find you somewhere to live. Start reaching out to people and head towards your goal. Don't come here and get to chilling and doing all that. Stay focused, stay on your grind. It is all gonna pay off at the end. Trust me.
Thank you so much. I mean, that is something a lot of people come to Hollywood and don't know what to do. But you kept it going. Just like Ken said, if a door closes, knock open a window. So keep on pushing. So thank you so much. And can't wait to see some more of your work. And I don't think we have Catrice still, but I do want to say, we have Catrice. Thank you, Catrice. Can you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you? And
streaming platforms, it's Catrice without the hyphen _ Blue Collar on Instagram, and then Blue Collar Squad on Facebook. Let me see what I could think to say. What am I working on now? Cleaning out my closets and and working on my electronic press kit. Obviously, scripts are coming across. I was working on a pilot when we went into COVID, into the pandemic. So eventually all that stuff will pick back up. Taking meetings, building resources. I guess if I had any advice to give to the younger people, I would say assist, because you will learn every person's tricks and trades, and then you can learn how the things you love about this person, the things you don't want to take into your personal journey. I would also say to, always research, look up different fashions. Remember that we are the help. We are the glamorous help, but we are still the help. And I would stay away from gossip. That keeps you in the business for a long time because confidentiality is important. So you want to make sure that you stay away from the gossip. And then lastly, I would say my thing that I live by is I don't take things personal. And it took me a really long time to get to that because when you're on set, you are dealing with a lot of people and a lot of emotions. And sometimes things happen that have nothing to do with you. And if you can remember to not take anything personal, I think that would help in the journey as well.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing everything. Your experience is definitely, needed in this field. We all see, the end credits and it's 100 or 200 people work on a film and we never know who are these people behind the scenes. And I know you guys like being behind the scenes. Some of you guys are like first time on camera, like Katrice, like I like being behind the scenes. This is where I feel comfortable. But you got to shine a light on what you do so you can inspire someone else to get into this. So this is one reason why Linda, as well as Babu and Asantewa, created the PAFF Institute so they can teach people about what goes on behind the scenes, how to get into the field, and the do's and don'ts of working in this industry. Because we always got an eye looking at us, especially if you're the only African American, the only male, or the only female. There's a lot of eyes looking at you. So as much as we could teach our people how to get into this, we are definitely paving that way. So I want to tell everybody to please support the Pan-African Film Festival by going over to www.paff.org to donate now. And so we can keep these PAFF Institute going on. I do want to invite you all to the next Pan-African Film Festival, Art and Film Festival, that will be in 2021 of February. It is going to be a virtual film festival. So please, you guys are all invited over. Hopefully we'll have another panel. We'll talk some more about some of the films. Maybe you guys have some films that will be in the Pan-African Film Festival, so we definitely want to welcome you guys all back. We thank you guys all for being here. And before I go, I want to say this behind the scenes, part 2 is sponsored by 99 Problems. So please go vote. This is the 99problem.org. So it got 99 problems, but my vote ain't one. This is the election year, it's election time. So I want to make sure everybody registers to vote. Go over to the99problems.com. Please go vote. So thank you guys all for being here. I'm your host, J. Tasha St. Cyr, moderator and producer of the Pan-African Behind the Scenes panel. And I want to thank you guys so much. So see you guys in February. And thank you.